Hello everybody! Today we're going to continue reading Joanne Harvey, Stolen Focus. We are finishing page 10 and my name's Tien and this is my brother Trung. And let's get started. Trung, start us off. So every paragraph.
Yeah.
Not up to the screen line, then up to the screen. It's super close.
No, every paragraph, Tim. There are, I think, 3 crucial reasons why it is worth coming on this journey with me. The first is that a life full of distractions is, at an individual level, diminished. When you are unable to pay sustained attention, you can't achieve the things you want to achieve. You want to read a book, but you are pulled away by the pings and paranoias of social media. You want to spend a few uninterrupted hours with your child, but you keep anxiously checking your email to see if your boss is messaging you. You want to set up a business, but your life dissolves into a blur of Facebook posts that only make you feel envious and anxious. Through no fault of your own, there never seems to be enough stillness, enough cool, clear space for you to stop and think. A study by Professor Michael Posner at the University of Oregon found that if you're focusing on something and you get interrupted, on average it will take 23 minutes for you to get back to the same state of focus. A different study of office workers in the US found most of them never get an hour of uninterrupted work in a typical day. If this goes on for months and years, it scrambles your ability to figure out who you are and what you want. You become lost in your own life. Teenager.
When I went to Moscow to interview the most important philosopher of attention in the world today, Dr. James Williams, who works on the philosophy and aesthetics of technology at Oxford University. He told me, if we want to do what matters in any domain, any context in life, we have to be able to give attention to the right things. If we can't do that, it's really hard to do anything. He said that if we want to understand the situation we are in at the moment, it helps to picture something. Imagine you are driving a car, but somebody has thrown a big bucket of mud all over the windshield. You're going to face a lot of problems in that moment. You are at risk of knocking off your rear view mirror or getting lost or arriving at your destination late. But the first thing you need to do before you worry about any of those problems is clean your windshield. Until you do that, don't even know where you are. We need to deal with our attention problems before we try to achieve any other sustained goal. Drawing you up. Where? What are you doing?
A second reason we need to think about the subject is that this fracturing of attention isn't just causing problems for us as individuals. It's causing crises in our whole society. As a species, we are facing a slew of unprecedented tripwires and trapdoors. Like the climate crisis, and unlike the previous generations, we are mostly not rising to solve our biggest challenges. Why? Part of the reason, I think, is that when attention breaks down, problem solving breaks down. Solving big problems requires the sustained focus of many people over many years. Democracy requires the ability of a population to pay attention long enough to identify real problems, distinguish them from fantasies, come up with solutions, and hold their leaders accountable if they fail to deliver them. If we lose that, we lose our ability to have a fully functioning society. I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence that this crisis in paying attention is taking place at the same time as the worst crisis of democracy since the 1930s. People who can't focus will be more drawn to simplistic authoritarian solutions, and less likely to see when they fail. A world full of attention-deprived citizens, alternating between Twitter and Snapchat, will be a world of cascading crises where we can't get a handle on any of them.
And the third reason we need to think deeply about focus is, for me, the most helpful. If we understand what's happening, we can begin to change it. The writer James Baldwin, the man who is For My Money, the greatest writer of the 20th century, said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced." This crisis is human-made, and it can be unmade by us too. Strong be damn it, wait. Now, come on.
I want to tell you right at the start how I gathered the evidence. I'm going to present you in this book and why I selected it. In my research, I read a very large number of scientific studies, and then I went to interview the scientists who I thought had gathered the most important evidence. Several different kinds of scientists have studied attention and focus. One group are neuroscientists, and you'll hear from them. But the people who have done the most work on why it is changing are social scientists, who analyze how changes in the way we live affect us, both as individuals and as groups. I studied social and political sciences at Cambridge University, where I got a rigorous training in how to read the studies these scientists publish, how to assess the evidence they put forward, and, I hope, how to ask the probing questions about it. Team, your turn.
Am I up to?
Hold it.
Me. These scientists often disagree with each other about what is happening and why. This isn't because the science is risky, but because humans are extremely complex. And it's really hard to measure something as complicated as what affects our ability to pay attention. This obviously presented a challenge to me as I wrote this book. If we wait for perfect evidence, we will be waiting forever. I had to proceed doing my best on the basis of the information. We have, while always being conscious that this science is fallible and fragile and needs to be handled with care. Do you want to finish that for today?
We had time now. We had time, but
Okay, John, your turn. You want to read the last one? Yeah. This one's the last one.
we had time today.
So I've tried.
This one's the last one. Yeah.
No, until school light.
Go.
So I've tried at every stage in this book to give you a sense of how controversial the evidence I am offering is. On some of the topics, the subject has been studied by hundreds of scientists, and they have achieved a broad consensus that the points I'm going to put forward are correct. That's obviously the ideal, and wherever it was possible, I sought out scientists who represent a consensus in their field and built my conclusions on the solid rocks of knowledge. But there are some other areas where only a handful of scientists have studied the question I want to understand. And so, the evidence I can draw on is thinner. There are a few other topics where different reputable scientists strongly disagree about what's really going on. In those cases, I'm going to tell you upfront and try to represent a range of perspectives on the question. At every stage, I've tried to build my conclusions on the strongest evidence I could find. Team, your turn. Last paragraph.
Oh, wait to the next page.
No, last paragraph.
I've
It's
tried
been 10
to
minutes.
always approach this process with humility. I am not an expert of any of these questions. I'm a journalist approaching experts and testing and explaining their knowledge as best as I can. If you want more detail on these debates, I believe much deeper into the evidence in more than 400 endnotes I've put on the book's website, discussing more than 250 scientific studies. I have drawn in this book. I have also sometimes used my own experiences to help explain what I learned. My individual anecdotes over here aren't scientific evidence. They tell you something simpler. Why I wanted to know the answers to these questions so badly. Okay, one more. It's the last one.
Yes.
That way we go to the next page. Come on.
Someone to.
So I'm still squeezing around this, and we know where we are. It's already been 11
That
minutes.
way it can be up to the top of the
Joe.
page.
Oh.
Okay.
Finish there, see? No, finish. Good,
No.
Good Good job.
When I came back from my trip to Memphis with Adam, I was appalled at myself.
Very
One
good.
day, I spent 3 hours reading the same first few pages of a novel, getting lost in distracted thoughts every time, almost as though I was stoned. And I thought, I can't continue like this. Reading fiction has always been one of my greatest pleasures, and losing it would be like losing a limb. So I announced to my friends that I was going to do something drastic. It's getting awful today.
Finish that,
Okay,
Dominic.
that's
Finish, we can finish it.
No, it's done.
okay. That's gonna be all today, and we're ending.
You can finish that one. See, we go. You don't have to do it 1 week so far.
It's fine.
And then we're ending off today at page 14. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.